Hello and welcome to Network. My name is Spumela Lezondi. Today we have information on the technology that led to the Ford Kuga blow-ups. Vodacom has introduced a free Facebook for its customers. We'll tell you about that as well tonight. Our discussion is on how South Africans connect to the internet and what they do once they are online. Helga Stegman from Mentoray is in studio for that one. Find us on SABC Network. That's on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Use network at sabc.co.za and email. Let's start with your technology and social media news. Now, when we buy cars, we don't anticipate them to blow up and burn during a drive. We instead anticipate a safe and comfortable drive. But unfortunately for some Ford Kuga drivers, this didn't happen. For over 2 years, some have been experiencing burning cars caused by overheating. On their Facebook page, Ford says they can assist those who call their call center. We called them, but there was no operator.
After announcing a recall of more than 4,000 cars, Ford promised Kuga owners courtesy cars through their dealerships. But it seems like motorists are struggling to get them. On their Facebook page, the motor company seems to be aware of the problem, and they left the number that could be called. When we called earlier on, this is what we got.
Thank you for calling Ford. For training and quality purposes, your call may be recorded.
If you would like information on Ford products and services, please press 1. If you'd like to speak to a member of our customer care team, please press 2. Alternatively, please hold the line for the switchboard operator.
This is not the first time the giant American company has experienced such an issue. In 2012, Escape, which is an American version of Kuga, was recalled.
In July of 2012, there was a recall in the States of 89,000 vehicles that were fitted with a 1.6 EcoBoost engine. And these were recalled for a fuel line problem. So the fuel line on the vehicle was made out of a composite that couldn't handle the heat. The fuel line was melting and fuel was dripping onto a hot exhaust and combusting. So cars were burning.
The Sunday Times has also reported that the cars have no trade-in value and that the selling price of the new cars are at 100,000 less than the value given in the dealer's guide.
Vodacom subscribers can now browse through their Facebook for free, only they will not be able to view pictures or videos on the new Facebook Flex.
Vodacom customers are now able to browse through their Facebook accounts for free. This was announced by the network service provider at the launch of the Facebook Flex product on Tuesday.
Thank you, Elvis.
At an interview on SABC's newsroom, Vodacom Nyimpini Mabunda explained what the so-called Facebook Flex is.
It is not a full suite of Facebook services that you can get. So we've made it such that it's accessible. So when you are on a Vodacom network and you go to the Facebook website, it recognizes you as a Vodacom subscriber. Then you get an option. You default to the free Facebook, which is Facebook Flex. However, if you want the full suite, which includes photos and videos, then it gives you an option to pay for the data.
As part of trying to lower data costs, Vodacom launched Facebook Flex under their Siyaka product range.
Our research has indicated that Facebook is the biggest social network site in South Africa by far, and indeed for our subscribers it's also the biggest. So when you talk about the cost of data, it's about where you're visiting or what do you do with that data. So we thought if we can have a relief and make Facebook free, then we go a long way in reducing the cost of data.
Facebook is not the only social media site to be freely available on South Africa's mobile network, as Twitter is also free on the MTN service.
Now, in Uganda, 2 deaf brothers have started initiatives to help the deaf community in the country. One wants to start a digital sign language program. Another is an ICT trainer who gives digital skills to other deaf people in Uganda.
The 28-year-old would go to excel in school and make a huge contribution to the Deaf Society in Uganda. Starting out as a volunteer at the Uganda National Association of the Deaf, or UNAD, Simon is now a communications officer at the organization.
It's a center for vocational training, a center for all deaf people in Uganda. We train them skills like carpentry, tailoring, knitting.
It is while at UNAD that Simon got wind of the Young African Leaders Initiative, or YALI. YALI is a program created by US President Barack Obama in 2014. It seeks to build on existing institutional capacity in Africa to provide high-quality training, mentoring and networking support to a great number of young leaders. Here, he would finally be able to consolidate all the ideas he had to better serve the deaf community in Uganda.
I decided to focus on digital sign language. Before, that idea wasn't here in this organization. So I brought up the idea to develop sign language using digital materials. Yes, I have them. We use them for training the young people. We use them when we are training the police officials, the professionals like lawyers, doctors. We use those materials.
This was inspired by his desire to make sure the deaf can access social services. His older brother Andrew also joined YALI after Simon's experience. The experience at YALI wasn't without challenges.
But because of the difference between Uganda Sign Language and Kenya Sign Language, when I went there, I found that interpreters had different sign languages, but I try to pay attention.
33-year-old Andrew is using his knowledge from YALI to conduct entrepreneurship trainings and ICT training skills for the youth in Uganda. Simon, on the other hand, hopes the digital sign language he is working on will also be used in schools for the deaf. The father of two aims to make learning easier and more modern. His dream is to make sure deaf people are heard across the continent.
Samsung will be announcing the reason behind the Galaxy Note 7's explosions tomorrow, and drones are used to document traffic accidents in Belgium. These are some of the top tech stories that made headlines in the last week.
Samsung Electronics Co. Limited will announce on Monday the results of a probe on what caused some Galaxy Note 7 smartphones to catch fire, as the firm seeks to recover from one of the biggest product safety failures in tech history. Samsung said its executives and independent experts will disclose their findings in a news conference in Seoul, and that the company will unveil new measures that have been implemented to prevent repeat incidents. Now heading over to France. Facebook launched its first incubator in Paris' Station F, the biggest startup campus in the world.
When we think about jobs, 60% of jobs that are created in France and in most countries around the world come from startups. At Facebook, we have nothing we care about more than supporting them. There are 1 million businesses in France who are using Facebook every month.
Facebook will coach 10 to 15 startup specialists in data mining for about 6 months. Station F was founded by French telecommunications entrepreneur Javier Niel, and it will open on April with a capacity of 1,000 startups. Now off we go to Belgium. The country's federal police showcased on Wednesday how they use drones to better document and ultimately understand traffic accidents occurring on highways.
The use of drones will allow to save time. It means that it will be possible to document accidents in a faster way. For instance, if it took 2 hours before to complete the documentation manually, today it will only take 1 hour thanks to the use of this drone. It will also allow to be even more accurate with regards to measurements, which are not done on the spot, but based on pictures with computer. It's a win-win situation for both road safety and mobility, since it will be possible to clear lanes much faster and to avoid further accident caused by queues formed after a first accident.
The pictures shot by the drones are then processed using photogrammetric tools, a technology enabling security forces to make measurements directly from the photographs.
News Today provide news updates giving a wealth of knowledge. Breaking stories and crossing live for you. We follow business developments intensely. Experts and analysts tackle all challenging issues for you. We cover stories locally and abroad to keep you informed. We cover all sporting codes just for you. We are sure to give you weather to be ready for the day. Stay tuned to News Today at 3 p.m. from Monday to Friday on SABC News.
It is SABC Network on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, News Network at sabc.co.za on email. Now, with the changing trends of how we connect to the internet, we went to the streets of Pretoria to find out what kind of devices people use to connect. It also seems that many we spoke to in the South African capital love their social media apps.
I use my cell phone to access the internet, and I spend most of the time on Instagram. And I'm happy with it. I just wish they can decrease the data charges.
Mostly my phone, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, WhatsApp.
I find the internet to be very useful because it helps with bridging the gap in terms of communication. It allows us to connect with the world globally through social media or things like emails and etc. So I do use the internet a lot, especially now it's so easy. You can go on your phone and access any app you want.
Okay, well, basically I use my phone and I usually go to Instagram, WhatsApp, or just Google stuff on the internet.
Firstly, I use my device, like my cell phone, to browse the net, and I go into pretty much, well, I mostly use Google and then YouTube as well.
I use my phone and then it's Twitter. I'm actually on Twitter right now, so.
Now joining me in studio to talk about how South Africans connect is Helga Stegman from Mentoray. They've done quite a bit of research in these issues and how South Africans use the internet on their smartphones. Hello, thank you for being a part of our network, Helga.
Thank you for having me.
Now, your research looked at people who earn less than 6,000 Rand. Why did you decide to look at that demographic?
Firstly, we looked at that because it was the mass market. More than less than 70%, well, 70% of the population actually earn less than 6,000 Rand. So they are the majority of our population. So it was good for us to have a look at that market and to really understand their issues and their problems and their needs when it comes to the internet.
Maybe let's start with the transition from the feature phone to the smartphone with people who earn less than 6,000 Rand. How do they decide which smartphone to get and how do they pay for it?
Well, I think it all started back in 2007. We started doing our research on how people were using their feature phone. And we found that people were already using their feature phone like a smartphone. And really, people really wanted to get a smartphone, but they couldn't afford it. And in the last 3 years, the price point of the smartphones became affordable. Also, a lot of people's phones have a lifespan, and it started actually dying. So they needed to go over to the smartphone, and they could afford it. So
let's talk about what you're saying. Back in 2007, people are already starting to use their feature phones as smartphones. How so?
Well, people were using their feature phones for everything. You know, we didn't have computers back then, so the feature phone, we used it to access the internet. We used it to read our emails. It was our music player. It was a lot of things for a lot of people, you know, and back then, the Western world was quite surprised that Africans were using their feature phone in such a way, in so many ways, you know, so we were probably first in market in terms of how we were using our phones and how we
So you'd say the rest of the world was accessing the internet on desktop computers, maybe laptops, and South Africans were already using their smartphones?
Absolutely. They were already using the feature phone like a smartphone, accessing it for all of those things because they didn't have computers. And I don't think South Africans would actually necessarily migrate to ever having computers because we've always used our phone in that way. We've always been uber phone users. So it's just natural for us to want to progress to a smartphone that will do so much more, you know. And that's the lovely thing about a smartphone. It gives you some access to so many different apps that can really change your life.
Pricing now changes, Helga, when you then move from a feature phone to a smartphone. Did you look at that at all?
We absolutely looked at that. That was one of the key things that we actually were interested in. Was there any kind of behavioral changes with people going from a feature phone to a smartphone? And yes, there was. And it was really around cost. Smartphones are very expensive, a lot more expensive than feature phones. And apps are really data hungry. So they eat your data much more than a Mobi site ever did. So people had to change how they were using their phone. And I would say they use their phone a lot less almost. They don't take the smartphone to its full ability. You know, they're using it a lot less than they did and doing a lot less than they did on their feature phone, just because it is so expensive.
Then when people get on their smartphones, what do they do on their smartphones? So you're saying that they use them a lot less than they did with their feature phones?
So WhatsApp, they definitely go into WhatsApp a lot more, and they love using WhatsApp. And the social sites are really, and social apps are very important. So they're definitely doing that. But for example, banking, they don't really trust banking apps. So they're using USSD, which is very much a feature phone behavior.
That's interesting.
So they're going back to that kind of behavior because they trust it, they know how much it costs. They're not going to get big surprises of the data just disappearing. And a lot of people feel that their data just disappears very quickly on this new smartphone.
Can they afford them, do you find? And how do the payment plans maybe that they use when they're paying for they're getting them on contracts, I'm assuming?
Well, it's a 50-50 mix between contract and prepaid. But to be honest with you, no, they can't. They can afford the phone, but they can't afford the data. The data really is very, very difficult and very expensive. And the behavior of the customer, the way that people are trying to kind of curb their expenses, of they saying, okay, well, I'll only spend 20 Rand a day. And what that means is they'll buy the airtime for 20 Rand a day, and then that airtime is not enough because they don't actually buy a bundle. And they use what we call out-of-bundle rates, which is really expensive. And you can really not do a lot of things with out-of-bundle rates at 20 Rand. You know, it goes very quickly, a lot quicker than a bundle would, for example.
Let's talk about that from your knowledge and what you've researched. Bundle rates versus out-of-bundle rates, because a lot of people might not know the difference and why they have to get bundles.
The difference is significant. So out-of-bundle rates can be as high as R1.50 a megabyte, okay? And R1.50 a megabyte, that's excessive. And on a bundle, you can go as low as 5 cents a megabyte. So the difference is chalk and cheese. So, but there's a bit of concerns around that as well, just because what is happening with people is the bundles are either daily bundles or monthly bundles. And a lot of people are saying, well, I don't know how much bundles I'm going to use today. So people are actually going over and saying, well, I don't want to have an expiry date on my bundle. And unfortunately, the networks have expiry dates. So people are a little bit cautious around that. So they'd rather use the airtime and do the out-of-bundle rates than actually get a bundle, which is unfortunate because it's a catch-22. You know, you can do so much less with a bundle, with out-of-bundle rates. So I would suggest the public should really go and get a bundle.
And get bundles. Helga Stegman from Mentoray, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. Now, we chatted to 2015 Idols winner Karabo. He tells us what his favorite piece of technology is.
What do you want from me? We ain't get just stop, it's not working. I'm funny when Gifuna longa ni wako suga when let me tell you my name.
What's up, everybody? This is Karabo Mokhane. My favorite piece of technology is my camera called the Nikon D3200, and I love taking pictures of that everywhere I go. I mean, last year I was river rafting and I took really beautiful pictures, so yeah, some of my favorite things to have.
Nobody else.
continues to wreak havoc in some parts of the country, this time around in KwaZulu-Natal.
16-year-old Nhlakanipho and 19-year-old Sinethemba were both hit by lightning. They were asleep inside this rondavel, their home completely gutted.
It's very difficult. I wish it was me who died instead of my children.
In Alexandra, north of Johannesburg, another distraught family. 4 days on, and the Chauke family is still clinging onto hope that the body of their 3-year-old daughter will be found. The search for a Pretoria woman who disappeared after a vehicle was swept away by floods continues. She was driving over the Apis River with her son.
Now, welcome back. Sarah, a socially aware robot assistant, interacted with world leaders as the World Economic Forum held in Davos. Take a look.
This is Sarah, a socially aware robot, according to its makers, which interacts with humans with the help of cameras and voice recognition, was prominently displayed at the World Economic Forum on Thursday.
Social awareness could be anywhere. So we believe that Sarah is a platform, or we are calling it social infrastructure. So trust, or in other words, rapport, which is closeness between two, is a social bond, is a social infrastructure.
Members of Pittsburgh's Carnegie Mellon University's Human-Computer Interaction Institute developed Sarah, which interacted with participants at the forum, an example of artificial intelligence one WEF participant predicted will spread across the world.
She captures your facial expression, including smile, eye gaze, and head nods, and then also she can capture your intonation and audio features. And then also we do have speech recognition to understand what you said, and then gathering together and then to understand the social intention.
Even South Africa's Minister of Economic Development, Ibrahim Patel, appeared to be impressed by this AI technology.
Well, I was speaking to a robot and it could detect my sense of emotion, anger, smiling, frowning. And what this really is about, the serious issue behind this is the application of artificial intelligence to so many social jobs that we had historically thought are intrinsically to be performed by human beings.
Sarah was previously shown at the World Economic Forum annual meeting of the new champions in 2016 in Tianjin, China.
Thank you.
People have been sharing on social media. Sri Lanka beats the Proteas by 3 wickets to the Wanderers today. It's no wonder then that the match was a big chatting point. Hashtag Lessons from Gambia is a topic on social media in Kenya. People are tweeting about how impressed they were by how ECOWAS handled the political crisis in Gambia. The Women's March opposed to the Donald Trump presidency in America has been a big topic too. Now, this week, we asked you on our Twitter poll what your device that you're using to search the internet is, and it seems close to 90% of those that voted say they use their smartphones. In fact, that figure is at 83%. 8% say they check the internet on their laptops, and 6% is on their tablets. 3% is desktop computers. It seems like those are already on their way out. Now, that's all we have for you. You can find us on SABC Network. That's on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. News Network at sabc.co.za and email. From me, Siphumelele Zondi, and the rest of the network team, have a good one. Tabilengwat is already here with your news.